Welcome back to On Air B&B Football with Bryce. Today, I'm coming at you with my college football 12 in 12 going into week 7, halfway through the season. Big week, big shakeup, a lot of goalposts in Rivers. If you missed this week of college football, you missed a lot of top 12 teams going down, a lot of change ups on the 12 and 12. But before we get into that, please make sure to like the video, subscribe, do all that fun stuff for us. Please help us reach our goal where we're going to get to the stadiums. Help throw some goalposts in Rivers with you guys. Do all that fun stuff. But we can't do that without your guys' help. So, like I said, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. And let's get into it. And let's go to number 12. So, at number 12, Iowa State. So, Iowa State undefeated through the season. I don't love putting them at 12. Iowa State hasn't played anybody. The best team they've played is Iowa, and Iowa we all know cannot score points. Iowa State's defense is good this year. The most points they've allowed was last week against Baylor with 21. I'm just not 100% sold on Iowa State, but like I said, I want to keep them. They're undefeated. I want to, give them their respect there in that field, but they have a bigger test in West Virginia this week at West Virginia. Respect for them for winning out so far this season, and we'll just see if they can keep going. At 11, I got Clemson. So after that week 1 loss against Georgia, where they got blown out 34-3, they've kept it rolling. They scored 66, they scored 59, they scored 40, and then last week against Florida State, they won 29-13. And I know Florida State isn't the team we all expected, but it was still a good statement win at Florida State. Cade Klubnik is playing great football, throwing the ball very well. Dabo Swinney's got that defense in order now. It's looking like a good, solid Clemson team. And if you all don't follow Clemson much, a lot of the buzz around Clemson buzz around Clemson in general is that Dabo Swinney doesn't take advantage of the transfer portal. He likes to build his teams from within, which there's nothing wrong with that, but you kind of have to evolve in college football the way it's going now with the transfer portal, with all that stuff. But he's got Clemson rolling. Clemson looks like they're back to, Clemson football, which that's always fun to see. They're always fun to have them in the race. 10, one of those teams that fell this week, and that is Tennessee. So Tennessee is going to be at 10 for me. They lost to Arkansas at Arkansas this week. Had a chance at the end. I don't know what Nico was kind of doing at the end. Could have thrown a ball up for grabs in the end zone, but he kind of just ran out of bounds at the end. I don't know really what he was thinking, but he's still a young quarterback. He's going to get better as time goes on. They play Florida this week. Florida is not very good at all. So I expect them to win that game, and then they have the big game against Alabama. Tennessee can still get into the playoffs with this loss, and maybe even with the loss to Alabama. They just have to play Alabama good in that game. They are at home that game. But Tennessee is still a good team. The past 2 weeks haven't been as dominant as we saw early in the season, which is, that they need to play a little bit better to beat these better teams. But yeah, they're going to fall. They fall down to 10 for me. At 9, Notre Dame. So I had Notre Dame in my top 12 2 weeks ago, and they were not in anybody's top, no one's top 12 a few weeks ago, but I caught on it early. Maybe there was a few upsets that happened that got them up here a little bit higher on a lot of people's list. But anyway, whatever. I just wanted to say that I called Notre Dame getting back in the top 12 earlier than everybody else. But yeah, Notre Dame had that win against Louisville 2 weeks ago. They had a bye this past week. They play Stanford this week, which I hopefully they don't have another Northern Illinois game. But Notre Dame's got an easy schedule to end out the season. They should be a playoff team this year. They should be possibly moving up to top 6 if some of these teams fall out. Of course they can't get a bye because they're not a conference, but yeah, I just want to say that I called Notre Dame getting back in the top 12 weeks ago. So yeah, they're at 9 for me though. 8, Ole Miss. So, a week after that upset against Kentucky, Ole Miss goes to South Carolina, takes care of business at South Carolina, winning 27-3. Very good, solid, dominant game for Ole Miss. I like what they did to bounce back after this week, or after that loss against Kentucky. They're of course, higher on this top 12 because of a lot of upsets that happened this week, but it's college football. It is what it is, and Ole Miss did what they needed to do. Huge game for them against LSU at LSU this week. One of the many great games that are happening this week in college football. So Ole Miss has to win this game against LSU. This is a game where you have to win because you play Georgia, you play Oklahoma later in the season. You play good teams still. So this is a must win for Ole Miss, and this is a must win for LSU if they want to sneak into the playoffs, because LSU is on that right on that edge of the top 12. So this is a must win game for both teams this Saturday. So that's going to be a good fun game to watch. It should be close. I'm looking forward to two of the best coaches in college football going at it, and two of the best college football teams going at it. But yeah, I like Ole Miss at 8. Number 7 is Miami. Miami keeps finding ways to win football games, coming back from 25 points down against California, at California. Miami just keeps sneaking out. Cameron Ward is taking care of business. Coming back from 25 down is not easy in college football. And I like what he's doing, but play a good Louisville team this week. Miami doesn't have the hardest schedule. They play Florida State, they play Syracuse. Those are two tough, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest. So there's some decently tough ACC teams that they got to face. But it's probably looking like them versus Clemson in the ACC title game. I mean, if Pitt doesn't lose a game, maybe they sneak in somehow. But I think the two best teams in the ACC are Miami and Clemson. But moving to number 6 is Penn State. There's teams that I still think above Penn State that would beat Penn State. So if you would put Penn State against Georgia or Bama or anything like that, who would be the favorite to win those games? It would be Georgia or Bama. They'd be the favorites in those games. You go to any sports book, they'd be the favorites. Whatever. So I love what Penn State's doing this year. They're back to running the football. Drew Allar looks good. The defense looks amazing. It's definitely one of the best defenses in football. They played UCLA at home, and I want to put them higher. I really do. But they're, like I said, if this is the top 12 list in my eyes, and there's teams that Penn State wouldn't be the favorite if they played those teams right now. But they're still undefeated, have a big game against USC this week at USC. It's probably their biggest game so far. They had Illinois a few weeks ago, but they took care of them at home. But this is at USC, big game this is the biggest game until that Ohio State game in a few weeks. But I like them at 6. So at 5, that's going to be Georgia. So Georgia played Auburn at Auburn, did good, did what they needed to do after that loss against Bama. Carson Beck went back to his self. The running game with Etienne was good. The defense did great against that Auburn team. Like I said, I would take probably Georgia over Penn State right now. That's why they're above them, even with that one loss against Bama. So that moves me to 4, and I'm putting Bama here. It feels wrong putting Bama here because of that upset at Vanderbilt. It really does. But I have Bama above Georgia because they beat Georgia, and I don't know, just Bama should fall further. They definitely should because of that loss against Vanderbilt. But it's any given Saturday, Bama can beat anybody. That moves me to 3, Oregon. Dylan Gabriel hasn't looked good in the past 2 weeks. He's looked okay, but he threw 2 interceptions this past week, threw an interception the week before. Started out, throwing for 80% through his first 3 games, and then just it's kind of fallen off a little bit. And then there's this game this week. It is at Oregon, but it's Ohio State versus Oregon, one of the biggest games of the season, probably the biggest game of the season, probably a 2 versus a 3. But this is the game everybody's looking forward to this season. This is going to shift a lot of things moving forward. We're going to shift a lot of things in the Big Ten standings, going to shift a lot of things in the college football playoff standings. But Dylan Gabriel's going to have to play better than he has the past 2 weeks to beat this Ohio State team. Moving to number 2 then is Ohio State. Like I just mentioned, got Oregon. It is at Oregon, so that place is going to be crazy. If Ohio State's offense can, it's looked good so far, but it needs to still take a step a little bit more. The running game has gotten better the past few weeks, but I still think the passing games look good too, but it's going to be really tested against this Oregon team, which is what they kind of need to do. We kind of need to see what this Ohio State is really made of and what they're expected to do this season, which is, that is probably the best roster in college football. So what is Ohio State going to do with that against Oregon? And that brings me to number 1. Had them last week at 1, Texas. So Texas is going to stay 1. Ewers will be back for the Red River rivalry. But that's one of the most exciting games in college football. I really expect Texas to dominate this game. They are a lot better team than Oklahoma this season. But it's always a good game, always a fun game. That's one I'm really looking forward to watching. And then they got the big game against Georgia after that. So look for the next 12 and 12 to be a little shaken up after this week's games, and then the next week after that is going to be even crazier. But that is it for the 12 and 12 going into week 7. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe, do all that good stuff for us. And then just please help us reach this goal of the channel where me and Brandon want to get to the stadiums, talk to you, the fans, talk to the coaches, talk to the players, do all that good stuff. Like I said, throw those goalposts in the rivers. We will help do that. We'll help carry them. We don't care. We want to have fun. But thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for listening. See y'all later.